Hi everyone, it's Vicki. Welcome to my channel, and I have another Venus and Mars go to the movies. And I have a dog wanting in. Hold on. And yes, for the more observant of you all, especially for those of you who may be in the healthcare field, yes, I am wearing a monitor on my chest. Not to worry, just kind of a precautionary thing. So anyway, the movie that I'm going to talk about today is The Barbarian, or I don't think it's The Barbarian, I think it's just Barbarian. And it's the only movie I'm going to talk about in today's feedback because I saw it twice. Not because it was a movie that I just had to see again. It's because I saw it with my cousin, Erica, because Jerry was busy. And then you've seen Erica, she's been on my channel for several taste tests and things. If you haven't seen like the Tin Can Challenge and Bean Boozled, she's in those. And I think she's in one of the fall taste tests, no, or Oreo taste tests or something. Anyway, she's in some of my videos. Anyway, so I went and saw it with her. But then I found out Jerry was interested in seeing it. After seeing the invitation, I didn't know that if he would be interested in The Barbarian, but he was. So I said, well, I'll go back again. I mean, we have the pass, the Regal pass, so it costs the same no matter how many times we go. So what the heck. So we went and saw Barbarian. Barbarian is definitely a suspenseful horror, scary kind of movie. So I'm going to talk about seeing it with Erica first. A Venus and Venus. Yeah, it was the first time I saw it. It caught me in a couple places. I actually hollered out at one point, ah! And Erica screamed. And I usually don't do that, but it got me at one point. It is about a young woman who travels to Detroit for a job interview. And she stays at an Airbnb. And she doesn't get there until really late at night. And she goes to open the key thing on the door, and there's no key in it. She's trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And she can't see anything because the neighborhood's completely dark. There's no street lights on or anything. And then she sees a light turn on, or a light is on in there, something, and some movement or whatever. Anyway, it turns out there's a guy in there. And he says he's also booked the same house. And it turns out she booked it through like Airbnb or something, and he booked it through HomeAway or another app. They both used an app. They both had the same phone number for trying to call. They're not getting an answer. It's like a nighttime or whatever. So he invites her in. She's very suspicious, but she does go in. And then she tries to call to get a hotel, and there's none available, and it turns out there's a convention in town. And at first she's very skeptical, suspicious, cautious. I mean, as a woman, I'm pretty cautious about things too. And so like she's, it starts raining or something, I can't remember, but anyway, so he fixes her a cup of tea while she's in the bathroom, and then when she comes out, he's got tea. Well, she doesn't drink it, because she's on guard. And then, as it turns out, she's going to stay the night there. And then it just gets terrible from there. That's all I'm going to tell you. Let's just say the house has a history. Okay, that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to give away anything else. But the house has a history. And there is a neighbor, when she does go for her job interview that next day, a guy comes running at her saying, don't go in that house, don't go in that house. And she's scared of him, of course, and I mean, he seems like a weirdo, and she goes in and, locks the door, and he banging on the door telling her, don't get out of that house, get out of that house. Anyway, but when she went out to go on her job interview that morning, she gets out, and that little house she's in looks real cute and everything. And then they pan around to the rest of the neighborhood. Girl, that's a mess neighborhood. It's burnt out houses. It's terrible. It's terrible. And even when she goes on her job interview and the lady that's interviewing her says, where are you staying? And she tells her the neighborhood, and the lady's like, what? You've got to get out of there. You can't stay there. But she does, and for reasons she goes back, and she's a good person. She's trying to be helpful. But all during that movie, it's one of those movies where she goes down the stairs into the basement and, finds a door. And the whole time we're like, don't open it. Don't go down in the basement. And then we're like, don't open that door. Don't go in there. the whole time. It's one of those. I don't usually find myself talking to movies. Luckily, we're going to the movies in the afternoon on weekdays mostly, so we can talk. There's no one else in there. Maybe if they are, they're 6 rows away or something. But yeah, we're like, no, don't do it. Yeah, it will have you completely sucked into this movie. Or it was the first time I watched it. Now, the second time I watched it, of course, I'm not as sucked in. Eric and I were both really sucked in. And when you think the movie's over, it's not quite over. It starts rolling credits, but then it shows a little more. So don't just get up the moment they start rolling credits. Plus, the song at the end is a killer. But so then when I watched it a second time with Jerry, of course, I've already seen it. So some of that scariness is taken away. But we got there just a little bit late, so we didn't see the very beginning. And then he had to get up and use the restroom because we're in such a hurry, and part of it, so he missed part of that. And then his dentist called, so he had to go out and take a phone call. So he missed 3 parts of it. So for him, it wasn't as scary, but that's because this is a movie you need to watch from start to finish, and don't miss any of the parts, because it's not that it has a storyline that builds like, some big epic thing, but it's just, it all feeds onto itself, and otherwise he comes back and he's like, well, what are they doing there? They were just in a basement or whatever. But yeah, so you want to watch the whole thing. Go to the bathroom before, because it will almost scare the the pee out of you at times. So yeah, if you're looking for a good real scary movie, I think this one will do it for probably most people. And a part of it that made parts of it spooky that weren't even spooky was the music. And by the way, there's a whole second storyline associated with this house on top of it. Really, there's 2 more storylines. Something goes back in time, and then something else, which I'm not going to tell you, just to say that the owner shows up at some point. But so there's a couple different things going on. It's a little more complex than just your standard, the kids are at camp and the monster comes out of the lake. So, yes, if you want to see a scary movie this year, I would say that The Barbarian was scarier than The Invitation. Although I did like The Invitation. Jerry was so-so on it. But definitely if you want a little bit of a possible scream factor, I think The Barbarian's the movie for you. So anyway, that's my take on it. So it's a Venus and Venus and a Venus and Mars in this case. So I guess it's Venus, Venus, and Mars. See you at the movies.